Good morning, welcome to Business Insight on Souq News. Just as the name goes, we provide you insight on business issues. Today, we will be looking at power trading. Yes, since the power sector in Nigeria got privatized, different arms have been formed. We have the transmission, we have generation, we have discos, but it has even gone beyond that. Did you even know that we have power retailers? Oh yes, that's what we'll be looking at this morning. And joining us to provide insight for you today is Adolu Awokola, who's the head of revenue by Power, and we're looking at power trading in Nigeria. Good morning, Adolu.
Yeah, good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm very well. Compliments of the season.
Same to you.
All right, let's even begin from where it starts, generating the power and even transmission before we get on to distribution and then to the retailers. Can you take us through how it has evolved, the power sector has evolved to the point where we now have distribution, and beyond distribution, we have retailers?
Okay. So when distribution companies acquired licenses, they found out that rather for them to also concentrate on collection, which is like the biggest issue, because if collection fails, it destroys the value chain. So that means the disco cannot fulfill its responsibility to Gencos. And there were people like us, BuyPower.ng, available to help them solve that problem of collection. Because a disco is saddled with so much responsibility for maintaining infrastructure, uh, different infrastructures that they have to maintain. And if they combine that with collection, it might not be as effective as it could be. And collection partners like us are called aggregators, uh, would guarantee revenues for these discos by helping them collect. Collection in this form can be through different means, which I believe you still use. Collection can be via uh, your mobile and your web, people having access to be able to pay for electricity for the comfort of their homes. Can also be uh, in rural areas, creating agents that can allow electricity payments come closer to people. People that cannot maybe operate the mobile phone or cannot find their way around trying to pay for electricity online can use the options of agents to be able to pay for electricity. And that brings payment closer to all the customers of this.
All right, now in providing power to every customer as they want or as they should have, what does it take to retail power?
Yeah, so it takes a lot. So one of the biggest problems I would say is the fact that many people cannot just decide to pay for electricity from their homes, and that is where the conversation of cash comes in. Uh, the disco cannot afford to have agents across all their franchise areas. So take, for example, Ikeja and Eko would not be good examples because those discos run within very small franchise areas. That's all within Lagos State. But imagine a disco like Kaduna Electric, as its franchise covers 4 states. That's Kaduna, Zamfara, Kebbi, and Sokoto. Uh, how many uh, agents will they have on their payroll in that kind of rural areas where they have to allow the customers pay cash? How can the disco combine uh, maintaining and building infrastructure with making sure that there is transparency in what their agents are collecting on the field and what they are remitting to the disco. That's why it's easier to outsource to a company like Buy Power and say, manage our revenue collection. Make sure that all our monies are gotten back to us. And in that model, Buy Power can guarantee revenue for the disco by actually even giving the disco some capital or upfront capital to make sure that, okay, Buy Power then goes to the collects its money back. So you can understand that it's very difficult for the for a disco to say, I want to be in charge of my retail collection, because you are going to be divided in many parts where you cannot ensure transparency of every revenue that you make as a disco.
All right, now, sir, there are two things a retailer can do from what you're saying. You can be in charge of collection of revenue for the discos, or by yourself, you can also retail to the end user. Now, let's look at getting power across to the end user. And there's certain facilities that you will need. Let's look at the discos, for instance. Sometimes the gencos have often complained that the discos do not sell as much power as they generate. And that's because in between we have the transmission. And so there are issues along the line where the discos do not get as much power as they would want, or do not take on for capacity issues. So as a retailer, how do you handle all of these issues to be able to get power that you need to sell to specific consumers? What kinds of facilities, what kind of capacity would be required to do this?
Okay, so for a disco to be able to fulfill its responsibility to the gencos, meaning that it has to be able to buy electricity that the gencos are selling. The challenge is multifaceted. Number one, some discos are operating in places where there is low purchasing power. And if you compare a user of electricity in Lagos, for example, to a user of electricity in a place like Yola, you would have people in Lagos use an average of maybe 35,000 naira for a 3-bedroom flat, or 40,000 naira for a 2 to 3 bedroom flat, especially when they have air conditions all around the house. But when you go to a remote area, you get people that all they have to offer in their house is lights. Television might be luxury. Maybe the only thing that would allow them consume electricity might be a fridge, if they have one. So you can see that purchasing power for the customers of a disco would really matter. For instance, Ikeja averages above 16 to 17 billion every month. And Ikeja is within Lagos. So there are 2 discos within Lagos. And even some part of Lagos is even shared with the IBEDs. And in a place like Kaduna, Yola, apart from Abuja, most discos will struggle to get to half of that number. And they are operating in 4 different states. So in as much as they want to buy power from the gencos, they don't have the kind of customers that can allow them sell enough power to be able to purchase from the gencos. So the purchasing power of their customers very low. You also have a bit of problem because of the purchasing power. Apart from the fact that federal government have tried to invest in meters, in metering, people in a place like Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt, and even places in Anambra and Enugu, can decide to buy meters when they are building their homes. So these meters, for example, when you meter a customer, it helps you guarantee your revenue for everything that that customer uses as recharge as electricity in the house. But when you go to customers that are struggling with their collection, they don't even have customers that are buoyant enough to say, I want to buy meters for my property to make sure that I'm paying for exactly what I use. So the problem boils down to purchasing power of areas of the franchise areas many discos are operating. Because when you have people with higher purchasing power, you would notice that they can even help the disco in infrastructure investment, like acquiring their meters, sometimes even repairing transformers, uh, and that will help collection. But that's not the same across all discos in Nigeria. I think the bigger problem would be that the way privatization was done uh, gave some people guaranteed revenue over some other people. So if you are in Lagos, there is no way you would not be better off than someone in maybe Kogi or Kaduna or well, not naming names, but the economy of Lagos is bigger with people with higher purchasing power versus other parts of Nigeria.
Okay, let's look at this. Now, if we have the discos taking care of distribution already, why do we need the power retailers? Are
I'm
their
losing you a
roles
bit.
different? Are the challenges they face the same or even different?
I didn't get you. You were breaking a bit.
My question is this. If we already have distribution companies, at least for some discos cover up to 3-4 states. So if we already have discos taking care of power distribution, why then do we need power retailers? Are their roles different? Are their challenges the same or different?
Okay, so if we already have distribution companies, why do we have aggregators? Aggregators is a better name. Yeah. So the discos cannot do without an aggregator because the moving parts in running a disco uh, it, it's actually very big. And adding collection to your headache is another problem that you don't want to face. I have had discos that were managing collections themselves through their staffs, and they noticed that half of their revenues were in the pockets of staff. Because imagine a scenario where disconnection for late payments or for disconnection of debtors are within the same establishment with whoever is collecting. So there can be like a partnership, an evil partnership in this case, that the disconnection staff and the disco staff in charge of collection is collecting money from the customers. These are postpaid customers in this case, are collecting monies from the customers and are not remitting to the disco. They can actually achieve that. But the moment you have collection partners in charge of your revenues and you have made uh, your staff hands off revenue collection, it's easier for you to manage. How is it? Before I go out to collect for any disco, I would have to give them upfront cash. I then have the responsibility to go on the field or through my various platforms that I have to collect my money back. So I'm helping the disco with marketing. I'm helping the discos with making sure that their customers are paying because I earn a commission from the disco collection. I earn commission from the disco doing well. So that means that I am more, what's the word I'm looking for now? I am more, I'm more interested in making sure that the disco hits its revenue target, because once the disco is hitting its target, that means that I am also going to be making more money from commissions that I earn from the discos.
Okay, so what's the implication of the power aggregators, as you call them? How do they impact businesses in terms of
Okay, so
subscription? Is it cheaper to subscribe directly to a disco or to go through a retailer? And in terms of the
no,
services, what are the
hmm.
benefits?
So the truth is that whatever you buy from the disco and whatever you buy from buy power, for example, as a platform, is the same thing. As I mentioned already, we already have an agreement with these discos that we would make money from collections that we do from the discos. Yeah. So what we do is to enable payment closer to the customer. So imagine a scenario where a disco has to run various cash offices, for example, or has to run uh, a web and mobile platform for collection. They are going to be stretching themselves thin because they need to be able to focus better on what their strength is. Powered, for example, as an aggregator, its strength is to be able to build platforms uh, in, that allow people to be able to pay for this electricity. It's to also be able to build distribution networks. When I mean distribution networks, so I can also take the electricity that I am selling, develop it as an API, give other people to be able to sell. So that means I can take banks, for example, and say, connect to our APIs and sell electricity on behalf of this disco. So what an aggregator would do is enable that power is closer to the customers to buy. And we give different options that will stretch the disco in trying to achieve. So on buypower.ng, you can, for example, buy on your mobile phone with by downloading the app. You can buy on web by going to buypower.ng. You can
Let's look at
buy
metering
through
now.
our
Let's look at metering.
sorry.
So, metering with the
Yeah.
regular discos, that has been an issue. We still have estimated billing happening a lot. So, with retailers or with the aggregators, is that solved? Is it possible to pay for meters, for customers to pay for meters, and then they get them installed easily so they can actually monitor their usage and know what they're using actually?
So yeah, across discos, we still have quite a number of estimated billing customers. And the problem with that is that the discos that are supposed to acquire or install meters for the customers have not done that, sadly. Because I envisage that, I actually think that they did not envisage how big the problem was. And some discos are also dealing in areas where people believe that metering will allow you spend more. And the customers have turned their back against metering. I have locations where I know that even if a disco would install meters, the customers can actually burn down these meters because they believe it will allow them spend more. Uh, so the challenge right now is that areas where people are enlightened, people can actually buy their meters, or push for the discos to allow them pay for these meters in installment. And discos will be happy to give people that are heavy users meters. But when you then check the people that mostly do estimated billing, these are mostly people that cannot afford a meter. One way or the other, when you look at their estimated bill, they are probably owing the disco over maybe 200 or 300,000. And if they then install a meter at that point, the disco would actually want to collect maybe half of whatever they vend as debt. So as I begin to think of these things, the problem every day is multifaceted. And for aggregators, we do not help solve that kind of problem because it's an infrastructure problem. But the way forward is that aggregators would now be partnering with meter companies, people that want to sell meters, and tell and assure them of their revenue if a customer decides to buy these meters in installments. So you can say for us as an aggregator that if you are willing to supply meter to Disco A, come and talk to us. We would make sure that at the time that the customer is buying, you can collect your money for the meters. And that is a way to think about it going forward, but it's not something every disco will be open to. And it's not an interesting investment for financiers because we have a case where NEC has given regulations that payment for meters can be spread over 3 years. Would you be interested in tying down your capital for 3 years to allow someone buy a meter? I doubt it's not interesting for anybody to invest in at the moment.
All right. Let me have something clear before we proceed. So apart from revenue collection for the discos or making payment easy, what other problems specifically does power aggregators solve for the end user?
So for the end user, for example, we make so how many customers can actually go to the helpline of a disco and complain about the problem that they have in buying electricity? We have a 24/7 customer service center that helps reduce the pressure of the discos in attending to customer complaints. And so you can imagine if every customer had to call a disco directly, they will probably have a customer service center of over 3,000 people because most of them are having customers in the ballpark figure of over 4 million or 5 million. So we help them in engaging the customer, improving the customer experience of their customers. It's only when it's a bigger issue that this is escalated, that problems are actually escalated to this. So beyond collection, which collection is not a small thing because if collection does not happen, the value chain is broken. If the disco is not collecting, cannot fulfill its obligation to the GENCO. But apart from collection, we help manage the customer experience, improve the customer experience for the disco. That's a very major part because every electricity buyer is a customer for the disco, and we help the discos improve their experience. And because of knowledge that we have on the field and relating with customers, the insights that we also give the discos from our knowledge of collection. So we can always share knowledge from what works in disco A to disco B to help them. So we share insights that help the discos improve. And we, as an aggregator, are more technologically savvy. We are also going to be helping the discos with newer technologies that can help them improve collection and improve service delivery. So the relationship with discos mostly are very good, mutually beneficial partnerships that once the disco is doing well as an aggregator or retailers, they are also doing well.
All right, thank you very much, Adolu Awokola, who is the head of revenue by Power. We're not done. We just want to take a quick break and then return to the conversation. To stay tuned to Business Insights.
Idumota Market. Idumota, once a residential neighborhood, is home to Idumota Market, located on Lagos Island. It is one of the oldest and arguably one of the largest markets in West Africa. Idumota is a historic neighborhood adjacent to the Lagos port that facilitated the slave trade, and later, under the British indirect rule, it surrounded to exports that fueled the colonial enterprise. Idumota was also the location of an armed forces remembrance cenotaph called Soja Idumota, built as a monument to Nigerian soldiers who served with the West African Frontier Force. An Eyo masquerade statue and a clock tower are also some monuments at Idumota. Idumota Market is so popular that large sales are recorded as early as 7 a.m. The market is made up of hundreds of locked-up shops occupying several multi-story buildings, with some measuring about 5 or more floors. In 2010, the Lagos State government demolished some illegal structures in order to improve vehicular and human movement in and around the markets. During weekdays, the neighborhood of Idumota is densely populated by shoppers, traders, and bus passengers. From the Carter Bridge ascending into Lagos Island, passengers can see the neighborhood before disembarking at their final destination. Idumota Market accommodates the substantial inflow of imported goods. The bulk of import from abroad are routed first through Idumota and then on to other markets through Nigeria and other West and Central African countries. The energy of private Idumota traders and wholesalers facilitate this activity, where millions of US dollars worth of wholesale is exchanged daily. Idumota Market, Souq Enlightenment.
I'm okay.
My name is Raymond Bola Brown.
Hi, my name is Fred Amata, and you are on to Souq News.
If you are watching this channel for the first time, make sure you continue to watch it, because this is Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News. Actually, I don't know. I really enjoyed the little moment I spent with you, and I think with more of this.
Souq News. Here's the Souq News, who had the courage to transcend a locked-off camera and actually have a conversation with a human being. It's a pleasure, Souq News. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for staying tuned to Business Insight. If you just joined, we're looking at power distribution and retailing in Nigeria. So there are different options now that are being made in terms of buying power, how you can buy power, how you pay for the power, and that's what our guest has been talking to us on the show today. So it's about making it easy and very convenient. Just imagine that you're in your house and maybe while watching early exchange, something just happens and you run out of power units and you're thinking, oh, how do I go over now to maybe my disco office to buy power? Are there options from which I can get them using e-purchase. How can I even buy the power? Now, can I buy in advance? Can I gift someone power? Now, this is the youth out. We are in the Christmas season. People are thinking of what to gift people. We'll get to all of that conversation after this break with our guest. Just stay tuned.
I'm okay.
My name is Raymond Bola Brown.
Hi, my name is Fred Amata, and you are on to Souq News.
If you are watching this channel for the first time, make sure you continue to watch it because this is Souq News.
Shout out to Souq News. Actually, I don't know. I really enjoyed the little moment I spent with you, and I think with more of this.
Souq News. Here's the Souq News, who had the courage to transcend a locked off camera and actually have a conversation with a human being. It's a pleasure, Souq News. Thank you very much.
All right, many thanks for staying tuned to Business Insights. Again, the focus for the show today is power distribution and retailing, and our guest is Adeolu Awokola, who's the head of revenue for Buy Power. All right, thank you, Adeolu, for staying tuned and staying with us. The issue of overbilling, how does the aggregator come in here? What role does the aggregator play in solving issues of overbilling?
Okay, so there are quite a number of value chain in the display, and billing is one of them. The aggregator does not play in the part where the disco bills the customer. Sincerely, the way a customer can actually solve an overbilling issue is to actually meter the premises. He challenged many customers that are on postpaid meters. Is mostly around the of power. So, for example, if you use prepaid meters and you know that you're actually going to pay for what you use, most people would make sure that their usage of electricity is controlled. But with people that are on postpaid, they do not control their electricity. And the disco is not in the business of losing money. So a disco would only take what is the usage across this feeder or across this transformer and share the bill accordingly to every customer. So let me give an example. We have 30 people on a transformer. Every transformer has a meter, I hope you know. The disco reads that meter at the end of the month, sees how much the usage is, and share the bill accordingly to every postpaid customer in that area. That's what's called estimated billing. So you would notice that in areas where people have postpaid, you will notice that they are not disciplined with electricity usage. Many of them even still use things that consume a lot of electricity, from electric stoves, boiling ring, things that if you dare use them with a prepaid meter, your unit will run out very quickly. So I believe that what will solve the total problem is metering. Once metering is established around Nigeria, number one, it would improve electricity because the discos would have the confidence to buy from the gencos because they have users that they can measure what they use. So to answer your question in summary, metering is what will solve overbuilding.
The pricing model for power in Nigeria, could you take us through that? I know that for each, there are categorization done for each location. There are some that are grouped under maybe A, B, C, D, depends on the number of hours of supply that they get. But what is the pricing model as regards tariff for power in Nigeria?
It's not, yeah, you're very correct, but it's not only by the number of hours. It's also by what is perceived to be the purchasing power of people in that location. So Band A in Lagos might differ from Band A somewhere else. Band A in Abuja Disco would differ from Band A in a place like Kaduna. So purchasing power is also included in how tariffs are being generated or are arrived at.
The system in operation in developing countries. Now, India happens to be one of those countries where you have power exchange and you have people buying power for the future. Do we have such an operation? For instance, I want to pay for power all through next year. Is that possible in Nigeria? Or I want to gift someone. This is the UTAD. I'm thinking of what to gift somebody. I don't want to give money. I don't want to give rice. Can I gift power?
Yeah. So I'm going to start from the second question. Yes, I think we're the only platform in Nigeria that allows you to be able to gift power. If you go to gift.buypower.ng, oh, maybe I'm not supposed to. Yeah, we have a point for gifting, so that is available in Nigeria, and that's one of the things that aggregators do, that the discos would not do. So we bring innovation to how electricity is purchased. Another thing that thinking about these gifts made me think about something. We also allow customers to buy electricity and pay later. So you see, that's the value that aggregators give to the disco, that part of collection, to that area of collection. Yeah. So to your first question, in Nigeria, if you have a prepaid meter, you can decide to buy as much as you want to and load your meter. You can use it for as much as 1 to 2 to 3 years, as far as you have bought it and loaded the token on your meter. So maybe what is happening in India, we can say is already available in Nigeria. So you don't need to buy electricity only when you do not have power. You can buy every time for a salary earner. You can decide to buy every time you earn your salary and just put it there. The good thing is that it's stored there, and that means that you have access to using electricity for as long as you have units on that meter.
Okay, it seems like the power sector value chain is getting bigger by the day. Can you tell us some of the new additions into the value chain? Now we have retailers. So what other businesses have opened up as a result of having power retailers or aggregators, like you call them, and new additions into the value chain?
Okay, so we are one of the success stories of privatization of the discourse. And there are many companies like us also that this was created because they were going to help the discos collect revenue, and that's already an industry on its own. But in recent times, with the new regulation, we might have entrance of new smaller discos, as I would put them, called IPPs. And these people are now getting licenses from NEC and licenses from states that they want to operate. So that would mean that someone can actually just take a cluster and power it. and make all those customers yes have a license from the state. Yeah, they have a license from the state. As simple as that. So we believe that the competition is going to get next coming years, and you cannot. It means that the disco would have to compete within its franchise areas. If you are not performing in your franchise areas, small players can go and talk to them in a cluster, talk to customers in a cluster, and say, let us provide you 24 hours electricity as far as you can. And that is going to start happening, I believe, from next year.
Okay,
Because many people are actually going forward for these licenses.
So the aggregators, are they only offering service to the end user, or they're also in between the power traders? By this I mean the gencos and the transmissions companies, and then the disco, because the discos and the gencos sometimes do have their quarrel over remittance of money for the power. So do we have the aggregators also playing that middleman between them, as we have for the discos and the end users?
No, we do not deal with the gencos at all. Every money that is earned by the aggregator is for the disco and the genco arrangement has nothing to do with the aggregator.
The end user usually interface with the aggregator, or it's just a system that is put there. You as the end user, you don't even know the company or the agency responsible for the revenue collection, but you just know that they're there. How's the process done? If I want to pay for power now, do I intentionally look for a retailer within my location, or it's just there connected with the discos? What's the process?
Okay, so for the people that want to buy from the comfort of their home, they actually would go to a platform like ours to buy electricity. But for the non-tech savvy ones, they are buying from. So we as an aggregator would also have agents that work with us. So any of those customers can approach those agents and say they want to buy electricity. That kind of customer, except from our platform being written on the receipt, does not actually know who they are buying from.
Let's look at regulation now. So what is the role of NEC towards regulation of the power retailing markets?
Yeah, so there are licenses that we have. So there are traders. There's a trader license that an aggregator should have. There are also some CBN licenses that are very, very important that you have. So regulation are on both ends, because an aggregator has to collect payments. That means that there are some licenses from CBN that you need to have. Then there are some licenses from NEC, just one or two, which is like trader's license. Yes.
What about consumers in the rural areas? How are the retailers getting across to them to ensure that, like you said, the role of the retailers is to ensure that power is closer to the people? So in that aspect, what are the retailers doing?
Okay, so the agents that we talk about are mostly in rural areas, and so it's a chain. So this feeds back to the question that you asked, that how has this helped the value chain? How has aggregators helped the value chain? So if I am an aggregator, which I am, I have sub-agents that I have given permission to also to sell electricity and earn a commission. So because they earn a commission, they are also interested in making sure that they can sell electricity. So they go to every user of electricity, or they locate themselves somewhere central where customers can approach them to buy electricity. Once customers approach them and they sell, they get a commission for everything that they sell. So it's not that aggregators solely hold all the income that they get from the disco. We also share it across agents that work with them.
All right, going into the future,
That means
which is
that
very close to us,
electricity,
2024, which we see the
sorry, let me
operations
add
of
this. That means
lots of independent distribution companies. And we're beginning to see more off-grid solutions come up. So what will be the role now of the retailers? This is going to expand, providing more options for the end users, not just payment options. You could go left, you could go right and choose your source.
Yeah, so I don't know if any aggregator would be interested in playing in that IPP space or becoming a smaller disco. Because running a disco is not as easy as many people think. The knowledge of that you need to have of maintaining infrastructure, billing, it's quite a lot. So you cannot just think that because you have handled collection very well and then flow to the disco. We will be more aligned to partnerships with even the newer players and share our collection experience and help them to be able to collect appropriately, while they can focus on infrastructure, staffing, and the likes. So I would believe that for us, we would continue to play in the collection space. That is a place where we already know so well and can continually add value to any player that distribution market. I don't think it's of interest to us right now. Also, want to sell, want to become a disco.
Okay. All right.
And I think I will be speaking for
I'm
many
also asking,
aggregators.
I also want to know, for the off-grid solutions that will be coming, would you, the retailers, I want you to speak on behalf of your other colleagues in the sector, be partnering with them to make it easy to buy power from them, as we have seen you do with the discos?
Yes, we will do that. We will do that, and we will do that. That's the way to go. We believe that we can help them with the experience that we have, and I know they will be open to it.
Finally, as we wrap up, let's look at this from two sides. Now, from the side of the discos, contracting revenue collection to a third party, does it in any way decrease their revenue? And on the side of the consumer, does it increase what you have to pay?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't decrease the revenue on the disco end. Because if the disco compares the loss that it would make by not having transparent collections, then it does not decrease their revenue. It actually improves their revenue. Aggregators like us will also open up other collection channels for the discos that the discos cannot manage themselves. And also create a lot of products around their service. So one that we have talked about is buy electricity now and pay later, gifting, all those kind of. We even do a lot of promotions with the electricity payments. And for the customer, the cost is the same. So the only cost that might be different is maybe sometimes for people that buy from their homes, maybe there's just a convenience charge of 100 naira. And that is cheaper than you leaving your house, trying to go to a disco office. Spend way more than 100 naira in transportation in Nigeria right now. So it's a win-win situation for the schools and the customers.
All right, was supposed to be done, but something you said is of interest. Buy electricity now and pay later. How do you ensure payment? I've seen these schools go with soldiers, go with extra help to collect money, to collect payment for power use. So if people are buying now and paying later, how do you ensure that they pay?
Yeah, that's trade secrets that I cannot share, but it's a successful product, and customers will pay. So trade secrets cannot be shared on live television, but it's a successful product for us. And so
We have
that's part of
success in doing that. It's also relieving for the customer if you have need for power and there is no money at that time, or you cannot afford to pay for it. Then it means you have it and then pay later. That option, I'm sure, is something that a lot of consumers will want to try. Thank you very much, Adeolu Awokola, who's the head of revenue by Power, for speaking with us this morning on power distribution and retailing. It's been nice having you with us on the show today. This is where we're okay. This is where we wrap it up today. Thank you for watching. I'm Blessing AHA. Now, I need to tell you that there's more where the shows come from, and that is Souq News. So stick around. Do not go anywhere, because there's so many exciting programs coming your way on Souq News. One of them is sports. Sportsville later at noon with Chooks and Juvie. You do not want to miss that. You need to have something to say when you gather with your sports friends. Have yourself a wonderful day.